Welcome to the Real with Joseph Latman. I am Joseph Latman. Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys having a good day today. Having a good week. Happy Hump Day. Almost to the weekend. Excited for this weekend. But before I look ahead to this weekend, I want to go back to last weekend. The Buckeyes got the dub, which not surprised. Now the game went a little different than myself and Mikey and today's anticipated. We thought it was going to be a complete blowout. But give props to Notre Dame. They came in, they played a good game. They're well coached. I think Marcus Freeman's gonna be a fabulous coach. I think they got some great players over there. Their tight end, I think, might be the best tight end in the country. Definite first rounder for sure. He was a great player. Had a great game. But overall, I think great game from the Buckeyes. The defense looked a lot improved. Thank gosh, because I think they finally are in the right system with the talent. It was never a talent issue, but it was more just put him in the right places and the right spots to succeed. And they definitely looked like that. And Mike Hall, man, that dude is going to be unreal. He looked unreal Saturday night. Him, Tommy Eichenberg, JT Tuimoloau looked a lot better than he already was. I mean, he was the number one rated player in the country coming in last year. So it's gonna be a good year for the Buckeyes. I'm excited with the defense. I think the offense will be fine once they get healthy. But overall, great win, great game. It was a fun night for me. Went over to family's house, got some good food, had a good time, good laughs, and it was a good night. And so, but now we look ahead to this weekend. Obviously, Ohio State plays Saturday against Arkansas State. That should be no offense to Arkansas State, but that should be over in the first quarter. So, but I'll still watch to see. Like to see, you never know, might be a big play, something spectacular might happen. We'll see what happens. I expect to win, obviously, but I'm curious to see just kind of how the offense looks this week, maybe a little healthier. And then obviously Sunday's the Browns. That's the big one, going against Baker Mayfield, and Baker in his t-shirts. Oh boy. I guess Baker's off the leash now, as he's saying. So, I don't know. I think Myles Garrett, I know he's 4 sacks away from breaking the franchise record. I think he's going to break it in the first game. And I expect the Browns to win by at least 2 touchdowns. That's my prediction. And that's been my prediction. I know, that has been my prediction because last week I had I think I told Mike 41 to 17. But as we get closer to the game, and I start looking at some of the reports coming out of each side, I'm going to say the Browns are going to win. I still think they're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns. That's my prediction. Could it be a close game in the fourth? Possibly, because first games are always kind of doozies. They can go either way because it's the first game. And so, but looking at the rosters, I just don't think it's that close, really, from top to bottom. So I'm going to say Browns by 2 touchdowns, and I'm looking forward to Myles Garrett sacking Baker Mayfield and breaking the record, and we march out of there with the dub. And so, yeah. But anywho, I'm looking forward to that. And so I hope you guys are too. I know a lot of people are excited because football is back, school's back, kids are back at school. Whether you're elementary, middle school, college, high school, whatever, everybody's back at school now. And so, it's a good time of the year because football's back. The weather's getting cooler outside. The leaves are changing. I don't know. I've always liked this time of the year. It's a kind of exciting time of the year. I like the transition. I like the seasonal change. Some people hate it. I like the warm weather. I like summer, but I like fall too. I like just I like fall. Everybody seems to be more together in the fall, and everybody seems to be more. It's more comfortable. The weather. You should put on a hoodie, go outside. Like I said, obviously football. I could say that all day, but I just like this time of the year. It's one of my favorite times of the year. And so, with all that being said, hope you guys had a good weekend as well. And so, get into today's show though. Why I'm here today. The topic. What I'm here to talk about is, I thought about this. The topic today is, let me pull it up here if I can get to it. Do you truly believe? And that's actually a question. And that's a question for myself. It's a question for you guys. And why I bring this topic up is because, guys, when I plan out these shows, a lot of times it's kind of what I'm going through, what I've experienced recently, or have experienced in the past. And that's kind of, I'm going off of my experience. Now, occasionally I'll hear something from the anxiety guy. He'll put out a video, or I'll hear something from someone else, even anybody. Somebody might talk. I could be out talking to somebody, and they give me an idea, and I'll write it down, and I'll start to look into it more. That's kind of how I do this. But this topic today is a big one for me because I feel like this topic is really the biggest ingredient in terms of healing anxiety, in terms of helping yourself with anxiety, but not even just with anxiety, and life in general. Are you someone right now? Do you feel like you're in a spot where you're kind of in a rut, or do you feel like you're kind of going through the motions each day? Are you doing truly what you want to do? And I don't mean just like career wise or financially or whatever. I mean, are you really being the person you desire to be? Do you feel like you're really truly being who God wants you to be? And that's a question I had to ask myself up until probably within the last year. Remember, I told you guys, if you followed the show, if not, a brief, quick recap, going into last year at around this time, it was a couple weeks from previous weeks. I actually trying to think. If you guys go back to one of my old previous shows, I did a show about, it was a title, What a Difference a Year Makes. And I had a picture up in the thumbnail. And that picture was me after a bad panic attack. And that was 2 weeks ago. So that was in August. And that was like the 1 year since that day. And so that, long story short, that's where I was a year ago. And around this time a year ago, that's when I had to really I started to question myself in a positive way, not in a bad way. Because you can really doubt yourself and question yourself in a negative way, where you start to think you're not really someone, you think you're not good enough, you think you don't look good enough, you think no one accepts you, and all that stuff. But I started to question kind of those things, those beliefs. I started to question my core beliefs, and I started to question more of who I really thought I was. I viewed myself as somebody that was an anxious worrywart. I really viewed myself as somebody that, I can live life, but only to an extent. I have to carry this anxiety around with me forever. It's always going to keep me trapped in certain ways, either with relationships, and that's for some people. Like, and I haven't really had to go through that. I've never been in a relationship, like dating wise, but for some people though, they don't feel like they're good enough, so they don't feel like they can branch out and maybe try something different, maybe something they want more of. So what do? They revert back to the same kind of people, or they go back to the same crappy relationship that made them where that brought them down to begin with, right? That's one example. Or some people may revert back to certain habits, and sometimes those are bad habits that are are dangerous and don't help you. And so there's many examples of what people revert back to. People revert back to their comfort zones, and I've experienced that. I can attest to that firsthand. You start to get out more. You start to challenge yourself. You start to challenge you start to challenge that anxiety more. Like for me, it was health anxiety. I challenged that. I challenged the limitations I put in my mind, that I placed on myself, that I can only do a certain amount of things. You challenge those things. But when you challenge those things, when you step out and try to do something different, when you step out and try to be, you allow your true self to come into play, it feels different. It feels very uncomfortable. And a lot of times that uncomfortableness, that resistance rather, from your subconscious draws you back. It makes you, and what do? You run back to your safety, your comfort zone, because it's like jumping in a cold lake of water. When you jump in at first, it feels cold. It's uncomfortable. And what does your body tell you to do? What does your mind tell you to do? Get out now, run, right? Like, get out of here. But the longer you stay in that cold water, and the more you go into the water, more towards the center, and the longer you stay in it, like I said, the quicker the more you become adapted to it, and the easier it becomes, right? But a lot of people, they get in that cold liquid water, they jump out. And I've been there, and guys, I still have my own struggles. Like I still have my own stuff I'm dealing with, my own journey, right? But the biggest turning point for me recently, well, I'd say within the last, like I said, I started a year ago. I started really questioning things. I would say things really started to turn for me was in February. And the reason why I started to change in February was because I got hurt. I got into an accident, and it was a freak accident. I was out on my bike, and something happened with the bike, and it jammed up on me, and I just went down. Yeah, it was bizarre, very bizarre. It's never happened before, and it was just a freak accident. And I landed on the ground. I get up, I get out of the road, and when I go to the side, the adrenaline started to wear off a little bit, just from running off and stuff. And I started to feel my wrist, my right hand. My wrist was just like freezing on me quick. And I was like, oh no. And I'm like, I wonder if I broke it. I wonder if there's something wrong. I couldn't. I called my. Luckily, I wasn't that far away from home, so I called my dad. And I was like, hey, I need you to pick me up. I told him what happened. He was there in like a minute. And I remember I went to go like open the car door, and my wrist was just in pain. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I just broke my wrist. It was bad. And so I get in the car, I get home, and I start to do a little more like test on it and stuff. And long story short, it was just a sprain. I didn't break it, luckily, and I was fine. I just went home and iced it and stuff. And you know, it sucked because it was my right hand, my dominant hand. But that taught me though, and why I say it started back in February was because when you have an injury like that and it's your dominant hand, and it's, you use your hands every day for everything most of the time, you can't do anything about it. It is what it is. Like, you just have to let go. And that's what that process taught me. And it took me about 6 weeks for it to fully heal. Now, I had a brace I bought and put on it, and for about the first couple weeks it was still very stiff. And then I started to do some exercises and stuff to it, and get it moving, ice and heat and all that stuff. And it started to loosen up. I started working on it. Eventually, you get to the point where you just start, you have to put it through some pain to get it to heal. And so, like anything in life, really. But yeah, so that incident in February, that lasted about that first week or two. It really helped slow me down. But it helped me realize too, okay, what happened. There's nothing I can do. It is what it is. I can either sit around and be depressed and down about it, complain and bitch and moan, or I could just do the best I can with what I have for now. And over time, the more I keep going and I do the exercises to help it strengthen it, I do all the treatment, it'll get better. Before you know, I'll be back to normal. And that's what happened. But that helped me slow down. That's what I'm really getting at. It helped me slow down, but I had to let go. I had to trust. I had to just completely trust in God, and I had to trust in my body to heal itself. I had to trust in the process. I had to trust in time. I had to trust in that. I had to trust that I would still be able to, do the things that I want to do. Like for instance, I could, some work I still had to do where maybe I needed the hand, all that kind of stuff. Like I had to eat with my left hand, so it was challenging. It was different, but I embraced that challenge of just something different, using my left hand more instead of my right hand, right? And so, but long story short, that incident started to really help slow me down, because then the next month came March. And in March, I got at the last week of March, it was one of the toughest weeks of my life, but it was one of the best weeks of my life, looking back at it. Because that week helped set me up. The things that I went through that week helped set me up for where I'm going now. And by the end of that week, it was April 2nd, a Saturday, and that's when I did my first show. And I've explained that story numerous times, where how I was led up to that week, and that day wasn't even planned. I just came up here and started talking. I finally, I knew I had to come up eventually, or when I started planning doing a podcast, I knew eventually my first episode would have to be me telling about me, where I've been, and all that stuff. and I was putting it off and making excuses, and then finally one day it just happened. And that week, though, I could explain a lot of things that happened that week leading up to that Saturday uh, that pushed me to that microphone. And so, but again, that's what started for me. But what started for me was I got put in a situation where I had no choice but to let go, right? And so it's injured. What am I gonna do about it? What you gonna keep going forward? Or you just gonna sit and sulk and let it control you? And that could be the same thing with it's the same thing with anxiety. It's the same thing with uh, GAD, panic disorder, health anxiety, depression, fear of whatever you have fear of, low self-esteem, um, anything in life that hinders you, where you don't believe you can truly be who you want to be. And so I know I'm kind of rambling here to start off, but um, this is a very important topic because really like I said, it's probably the most key ingredient because I could sit up here and do 100 more episodes, and I could talk about kind of a lot of things I've been talking about with God. I could talk about anxiety, play a bunch of videos, talk about symptoms and what they mean and blah blah blah. But I could sit up here and talk all day, and I could sit and even for myself, I can sit and learn and learn and read and learn about anxiety all day long, and apply knowledge. But that only gets you so far. Eventually, you have to make a choice within, deep down inside. You have to surrender and let go to God, but also you have to let go of those things that have held you back, those beliefs, those core beliefs, the fear. You have to start to let go. It starts with you. And that's why I've said that a lot on this show, probably since I started, because it's the truth. That's because I know that firsthand. You have to let go. And yeah, it feels uneasy. It feels very uncomfortable at times. It's very scary at first, but the more you let go, the more you do it, you start to realize it's like a reconditioning thing. And so, and I'm going through that now in parts of my life. I've done some things recently, very recently, that I would have never thought of doing even 6 months ago. But I'm kind of playing my life now. I'm like, I'm the most spiritually in tune I've ever been. It's just more like, I'm really like daily prayer, reading. Now maybe some days I'll miss a day here and there, but I'm really like daily in my practice, like trying to grow stronger, because that was a big wake up call for me last year. Number one, and then number two, I think just I'm, like doing this show, and just things of my own personal outside of this show, like reconnecting with people. Just I'm doing a lot of things. I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable, and I've done some smaller steps, and now I'm taking much bigger steps and putting myself out there more and more. Not just on this show, like I said, but even things in private in my own life. And so, with that being said, the more I've been doing that, the more relief I've actually felt, the more at peace I feel. And because it's like I finally could let things off my chest, I could finally feel comfortable in who I'm becoming, who I really am. You know what I mean? And not only do I think that's who I am, I know that's who I am, right? And so that's the key. It's belief. Do you have that self-esteem, that belief within you? Like I always say, you're one of one. God made us all unique in His own image. There ain't nobody out here but you. Share yourself with this world. Who cares what some people think? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I remember some of the greatest advice, probably one of the best advice I ever got in my life, was from my Uncle Jim. It's funny, but it's best. It's so right. And he says the best advice he ever gave me was just F it. That's it. F it. Or he would say F them. Like F those people. Like that's the greatest advice he ever gave me was F it. And he's right. It's a mentality. It's a mindset. Like who cares at the end of the day? That doesn't mean now he wouldn't say like go out and just do things rogue and like get yourself in trouble. But if you're debating something in your life, you're contemplating something in your life, if you want to do something that's you're kind of fearful of, you're hesitant of, you're doubtful of, F it, just go for it. Like just go for it. Don't do it. It's like what Kobe Bryant said, that video I shared before. It's on my Instagram because I love it. It's don't do it for anybody else. Do it for yourself. God wants you to do it. God wants you to be fearless. You know what I mean? Sometimes He's just waiting on you. A lot of times, His miracle, His will, the great things He has planned for you, you got to allow Him to work within you. You got to let Him go. You got to let go of the past. You got to let go of those crappy beliefs within you, those old things that have always held you back and hindered you. You got to let them go and allow yourself to step into that cold lake of water. Like I said, it's going to feel cold at first. Yeah, imagine it like in your head, like you step in that cold lake, it's cold, it's gloomy outside, it's wintertime, it's snowing. It's very uncomfortable. But just imagine like a process, right? I hope this makes sense. I'm trying to just illustrate something. Imagine you sit in that lake long enough, eventually the cold weather goes away. Here comes the warm weather, the sunshine. The water gets warmer, it's more comfortable, right? That's what it is. It's a process. But you have to start and allow yourself to be. And this is the problem with a lot of people. They don't never get where they want to go, is because they started, like I said earlier, they revert back to their comfort zones because they don't truly believe in what they're doing and they don't truly believe in themselves. And I don't know. I try not to. I would never force. I'm a Christian. I made that very clear in the show. I'm not afraid to share that at all. Never will. But I don't. Whatever your beliefs are. Yeah, it's very hard for me for somebody to get somewhere if they don't believe in anything. Because what do you revert to? And it's almost like, why do you fear death? Because you don't know where you're going. But if you actually believe in something, and if you believe in God, most importantly, I hope, that's your hope. That's what you revert back to, right? And so, and it's funny, I heard this verse the other day. Monday I was having kind of like an up and down day. I had some things in my mind personally, just my life. It was just an up and down day. But Monday night, I got my scripture and I got down on my knees and prayed, and I just kind of slowed everything down. And I heard from Charles Stanley. I played on the show before. He's obviously very famous. A lot of people know him. Great preacher, one of my favorites. And in his YouTube page for his church, In Touch Ministries, they have like a daily devotional videos. And I'm sitting there, and the daily devotional for Tuesday was already out. And it popped up on my phone, so I clicked on it. And the title was, I think it was more towards, allow yourself to have peace through God's will. And in the video, they shared this verse. And if I pull it up here, maybe shorten that. And so I saw this verse, and this verse really spoke to me. And I'll explain why. Because it says, it's John 14:29. This is Jesus speaking. I have told you now before it happens, so that when it happens, you will believe. And now, in the video, they start at verse 25, they go to 29, and Jesus is speaking about, obviously, they're believing and, putting trust in Him, but also, I go to the Father. He was talking about, I'm the one that goes to the Father. Like basically what he's saying is, I'm the one that controls everything. I'm in control. Just believe in me. Look to me. But when I saw this verse in the end, particular, when it said it in the video, I stopped and I just said to myself, "Yeah, like this is a good reality check for me." Because look what it says. I have told you now. So before it happens, so that when it does happen, you will believe. It doesn't say if. It says when. When it does happen, you will believe. And that verse really resonated with me because, I've had some things in my life. There's things that I want to, I'm still getting back out in rhythm with things, going out further. Like I said, I'm still growing in my own journey, with my own anxiety. I've come a long way from where I was and where I used to be. I'm not saying I'm above anybody, but a lot of people would have tapped out and would have made some very bad decisions where I used to be mentally and just where I was in my life, even, 3-4 years ago. A lot of people would have probably quit, but through the grace of God, and through God's will, and just that I always had that belief within me, because I was, obviously that was the most important thing that happened to me growing up, was people from a very young age, uh, you know, I was in the church. I was shown Christ. I accepted Christ in my heart. That seed was planted in me, and that seed has kept me through all the way till now. That relationship I have with Him. Because if I didn't have that relationship, if I didn't have a relationship with Christ, that's kind of what I was getting at. I probably would be sitting here talking to you guys today. I would not be sitting here talking to you guys today. Who the hell knows where I would be and what I'd be doing, or who knows? I mean, it was a dark time. But when it does happen, like it says in the verse, when it does happen, you will believe. And I've experienced that in my own life. And there's still some things in my life that I'm hoping for right now, that I'm putting myself out there more for, striving for. It's very easy for me. And, sometimes things don't happen when you want them. And it's funny, I always think one of the most powerful episodes I ever did was when Joe Zavarelli came on. Because Joe said a lot of incredible things on that show. But one of the things he said was, about patience, being impatient. And he's like, I want it now. Like, I want things now. And I get like that too. Like, I want things now. And you put yourself out there, you start doing things, and you don't get the results you want right away. And you start to get down, you can easily give up and just throw the towel and be like, okay, well, I guess it is what it is. I guess I just got to move on. But no, sometimes God allows that waiting game, that period where He's testing you. He's testing your patience, but He's also, you never know what God's doing behind the scenes. That's what He's saying there in that verse, and that part of what's in the video, like I was talking about from In Touch Ministries, John 14:25 to 29. But like it says in verse 29 right here, when it does happen. So what He's saying is, it may not happen when you want it to happen, but when it does happen, you will believe. And I've experienced that, and that's my hope now, and certain things I want in the future, that it will happen. I know it's going to happen. And when it does happen, it'll be another moment between God and I. I'll be like, I'll just be in awe, because, I have plans, and I can make my own plans. I can have goals for my life and kind of envision how I want my life to go. But God has greater plans, and His plans for me are greater than I can imagine. And sometimes maybe He'll give, I think He'll give you a vision of kind of what it's going to look like, and you start to get excited and have an idea. But it's even greater than that. We can't really imagine. It's hard for us to comprehend how great God is. I mean, we know how great He is, but it's really hard to understand, like just how amazing He is, and how His will doesn't affect you, but it's how it's connected to so many things around you, right? And so that's my hope. And when I saw this verse Monday night, it really helped. It's calmed me down since. Not that I wasn't, but it's helped me just really refocus again. And this is kind of what I've been doing for a while now, especially in the last month or two. Actually 2 months, yeah. Just kind of realigning myself with God's will, and just allowing Him to, just letting go and allowing, and listening to Him more. And just the more I've done that, and the more I've just been more in Scripture, reading, praying harder than I've ever been, there's been some incredible things that have happened in my life, and just some things that goals and dreams I had, and just everything around me is changing for the better. And just how things are growing. Yes, I still have days, but my whole mindset's different. Everything's just changed differently, and I could see God's hand in all of it. And so, that's kind of where I am. But I share that because I hope that verse resonates with you. Wherever you are, whatever you're going through, do you have that belief? Do you have that? Don't be afraid to let go. Don't be afraid to. And I'm kind of rambling here, but I'm trying to get to the main point, which is, things happen to you in your past. Things happen to you. Things happen to me. People may do things to you. People may make you feel some type of way. I've had that happen to me. I've been there. But I was in a period where I also allowed those things to control me for a long time, and I was kind of isolated away. I mean, I pretty much damn near disappeared for 4 or 5 years because I allowed those things to control me. I was afraid to tell people where I was. I was afraid to be who I was. I was afraid to let go. But then I got to a point where I said, "Hey, man, the pain where I was big enough. It was too much pain. I had enough pain." And I would ask a lot of you guys, have you had enough pain where you are, what you're going through? Like, when is enough enough? You owe it to yourself to step out. And yes, it's like I said, it's going to feel uncomfortable. I understand all that. But isn't it worth it? Like, for me, I'm at the point in my life now, the things I'm doing, it's very vulnerable, it's very uncomfortable, but it's worth it. And even if things don't swing the way I want them to, eventually down the road, like it says here, when it does happen, you will believe. And it'll all be worth it, because it's always worth it. And I hope this message really resonates with you guys. I actually went on, I went on a little longer than I thought I would. I know the music's playing in the background for like 30 minutes, but whatever. I mean, I'm speaking from the heart today. And so I actually have a video for you guys today as well. Luckily, it's a 7-minute video, so I got bailed out. So uh, I'm going to get to the video. In this video today, like I said, it's only 7 minutes. It's very quick, but it's very powerful as well. This video is actually from the anxiety guy, because this video talks about trust, and with anxiety, he's using anxiety as an example, but really anything in life. And so I'm excited to share this video with you guys. It kind of goes with a lot of what I've been saying for the last 30 minutes. If I can pull it up on the screen here. So this video is called "Why This is the Most Important Thing to Recovering from Anxiety: Let Go and Trusting." And this is basically everything I've been saying for the last 30 minutes. And I broadened it out in a lot of different avenues and spoke about my own things. But I like to share these videos with you guys. Like I said, and obviously I shared a lot of his videos because he's one of my mentors, and a lot of my philosophy, or a lot of my approach to healing, and a lot of things I've learned is from Dennis. So, and by the way, if you're not subscribed yet, go subscribe to the Anxiety Guy. It's number one uh, anxiety help support group there is out there, without a doubt. He's got go on his website, theanxietyguy.com. He's got a program, and I'm not just saying this like he told me. This isn't like a paid thing. Like Dennis and I actually have no like work relationship. I just shared a lot of his stuff because I actually experienced his program, and I believe in everything he teaches. That's why I share this stuff. So when I'm saying this stuff, I actually believe it. This isn't me just up here like a paid advertisement. No, I'm saying these things, and sharing with you guys to go do them because I've used them and they work and they're very effective, and to me, I think it's the best anxiety support there is out there. And so I keep hitting this table. Anyways, I'm going to get to this video to give you guys a different perspective, and I'm going to take a little time out here for myself to get a drink of water and take a deep breath. And so, yeah, let's just get to the video.
Warrior, welcome. Today I'm talking about a key ingredient that every anxiety warrior needs to develop. Key word, develop. These things don't show up when you have a good night's sleep. It's not a miracle. It doesn't just show up out of nowhere. This key ingredient must be developed. It must be practiced. It must be worked on. What is this key ingredient, you ask? It comes down to one word: trust. How much trust do you have in yourself? How much trust do you have in the world? How much trust do you have in your future? How much trust do you have in yourself to be able to solve the problem right now that is anxiety? I bet very little. So many people don't trust themselves when the answers show up through their intuition. They say, no, it's not possible that I can have the answers. Nobody told me that I was capable of finding the answers to things. And therefore, so many people out there go from book to mentor to therapist to drug to medication to supplement to technique, looking for the answer on the outside when in fact, if they could only trust their intuition that says, hey, you've been holding on to something for far too long. Hey, you have emotions within you that need discharging. Hey, you need to learn how to meditate. Hey, whatever it may be. The answer is different for each and every person. But we must begin understanding that the answers that you seek are already within you. They're not out there, they're in here. Trust. We must begin trusting in the uncertainty of happiness, warrior. I mean, every single time a good feeling shows up or you start to feel healthy, what happens? You screw it up. You screw it up, you mess it up. You say, this is weird. What's going on here? I have no symptoms. I feel healthy. That's not right. And so, consciously and unconsciously, you're screwing up your good health by looking for something to worry over, looking for something that could go wrong. How true is this? Comment below. So, there's a certain level of uncertainty within happiness that we must embrace.
I want to stop real quick because I like the point he made there. Well, I eat my pretzels too, but I want to make a point there. I like what he said. He said, number one, it's already within you, but also I've experienced that firsthand, where you start to let go more, you start to put yourself out there more, right? And like you said, you're going through your day, and all of a sudden, I don't feel symptoms. I don't feel that stress. I don't feel that. I don't have that thought I usually would have in this situation or this time of the day or whatever it is, right? I don't feel, and then you start to get uncomfortable. And what do? You run back to what feels comfortable, which what feels comfortable is actually not good for you long term. And so that's a great point. And a lot of times, too, the reason why I want to stop, what I think of is who do you surround yourself with the most? Who do you put energy into? Like the people around you, the environments, what you do, your habits daily. Because a lot of those things also play into making you revert back to those safety zones, those comfort zones, right? That make you stay in that cycle. And so that's where you have to ask yourself, what are some things that I'm doing in my own life or people that are around me? And sometimes it's people you love. And I'm saying you got to get rid of those people or exile them. No. Like for me, for instance, in my own life, with my health anxiety, for instance, I realized growing up, you know, I, s- when I was age 5 up until around 15, 16 years old, that 10-year period there, that's part of my development years as a child. I was around a lot of people who were hypochondriacs, and I picked up on those habits and the things they would say and how they would react to things. And therefore, I thought that was normal, but it wasn't normal. It wasn't the proper way to react. No, I'm not mad at them. Obviously, I love them, and they didn't know any better. And a lot of them learned from their authority figures. That's why I always talk about generational anxiety, right? You see what I'm saying? See how it's passed down from one to the next? That's true for a lot of people, and doesn't have to be just health anxiety either. That's just one example. At least that's what I've experienced in my life. And so, but doesn't mean you have to get rid of those people. But actually, you can help those people. And I've actually helped people in my own family, those same people in my own family, because of what I've went through and I've experienced, and even through this show, and even before this show, a lot of information, the years I spent working with Dennis and watching his stuff, and all the things I've learned, it's actually helped them. And I'm talking about there's some people they've been carrying this stuff for years. I mean decades. And they finally realized recently, like, hey man, a lot of things I believed and all the stuff I've been doing all these years, I really am a hypochondriac. I am acting like so and so, whoever that person was, or people, those things are illusions. Those things don't apply to me. I see something on a billboard going down the road that says go get whatever checked, or you got this whatever. That doesn't apply to me, right? And so just by speaking the truth. See how the truth sets you free. But the truth is also so powerful. The truth impacts everybody around you. It frees you. It completely frees you because if those people around you, it's like I said when I was trying to get at, about your environment. And what are things that could hinder you back, make you revert back to those comfort zones? You could have people in your life that are telling you that you still see that old way, that, you know what I mean, if that makes sense. You see those old habits, those old ways. And so you kind of, when you see it and you hear it, a lot of times that's what you become. You keep doing it. And so that's where you have to step out and take a chance on be believing. That's where you have to have that belief in yourself. Because what I'm telling you, man, it only takes one person. It could take one person in your household, one person in your entire family, one person with your friends, whatever it is, one person in your community. It takes one person to step out and do something, put themselves out there. And you being amazed, and especially when you have God in the center of it, man, you'd be amazed how it can grow. Look at all the, I mean, there's so many people I can name that we view in our, that I look up to, that I'm sure maybe some of you guys look up to. Try to think of one. Look at Kwame Brown. For 20 years, they said he was a bust. They said he was a bum. He couldn't play basketball, all because his career didn't pan out the way people thought it should have. And the guy finally stood up for himself and he said the truth. And look how he's impacted not just himself, helped himself. He's helped so many people. I don't think he even realizes it. And it's not even just where he lives in Georgia either, Atlanta. It's nationwide. It's worldwide now. I mean, it's incredible just putting yourself out there, taking that chance, what it could do. Dennis Simsick, right here on the screen, anxiety guy. One of very few people to put himself out there like that, talk about all these things and invest time in these things to help people share his story, which it's not easy to share your story with people. You know what I mean? It's very sensitive. It's not easy to really open up with things. Look at one guy did. Because that one guy right there on the screen is part of the reason why I'm sitting right here today, hoping to do the same thing for one of you guys watching this. Right? And so that's why you got to step out. That's why you have to take the leap of faith, because you don't really realize how powerful you really are until you do it. And so let's get back to the video.
Because you lived a life of misery up to now. You lived a life of misery. But from now on, moving forward, your life doesn't have to be full of that misery anymore. You can begin saying, you know what? When I feel good about myself and I have these happy feelings, or I'm getting the compliments from people and I feel healthy, this is the world I'm supposed to be living in. The old world was related to the artificial version of me, and this new world is related to the natural version of me. Which one do I want to live in? And therefore, to build your trust in you, you must ask yourself one important question. Am I in alignment with the person I want to be right now? Am I in alignment? Am I thinking that way? Am I speaking my truth? Am I acting that way? Am I projecting myself in a way that meets the needs for who I want to become? If the answer is no, change something right away. We must trust in a life without worry. So many people bring worry with them. No matter what happens throughout the day, they find something to worry over. Trust me, if you continue looking for something, you will find it. You will find it eventually. So every neutral and pleasant situation turns into something catastrophic, because this is the conditioning, this is the programming, this is how the person believes that they are safe. They are safe from the upcoming threat. Worry provides them safety. No. Worry provides you with something to do and engage in and to continue to be stimulated with, because you're so scared of making peace with stillness, so scared of making peace with peace, because you've never lived in that world. You've lived in a world of being frantic. No one's ever taught you how to think. They've only taught you how to react and stuff your problems aside, so you continue to do so. And then you wonder why you feel the way you feel. The way you feel is no accident. You consciously and unconsciously and subliminally brought it into your existence, into your identity. But trust can take care of all those things. Trust can take care of all those things. And more than anything, what I need you to do is begin trusting in a future that is uncertain. You must begin trusting in a future that is uncertain. What's to come is in your hands, warrior. It's in your hands. You can create whoever you want to become in your thinking, in your speaking, in your verbal language, the vocabulary that you use throughout the day, very important. Your actions, your imagination, these sorts of things, trusting in your intuition. I want you to begin trusting in a future that you can't see yet. I know it's uncomfortable, and I also know that you must go through this temporary time of vulnerability in order for you to get to where you want to get to. You will not overcome anxiety without first feeling anxious. The question is how are you responding to that anxiousness? Very, very crucial. Warrior, trust in you because I trust in you. Remember that you are more than anxiety. What did you get out of this video? Comment below. And if you have any other questions on the End the Anxiety program, head on over to this website right here. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Enjoy the channel.
Thank you to Dennis again for letting me share the videos, and great message like always. And to close out here, guys. I mean, the message today was pretty consistent. Obviously, he said a lot of things there that I've been kind of saying, but I like what he said though. Like I said earlier, it's already within you. What you're looking for. You got to start somewhere though. That's kind of the mess. What I took away there at the end, what he said was, you know, it's basically what he was saying. Is it enough? You know, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to be temporary pain. You have to go through anxiety to get through it. But how do you respond to things? And do you really believe in what you're doing? Do you believe in yourself to follow through and to you will make it to it's like that verse earlier. It's not if, when. You know what I mean? Do you put your hope and trust in that? Most importantly. And so uh and that's it. I mean, just start somewhere. Start so That's why I say all the time. When I say if you're somewhere that's going through anxiety or panic or anything, that's why I have contact information. Feel free. You can message me anytime. I don't care who you are. Anytime you can message me anytime about anything. I'll do the best I can to help you. And it doesn't have to be me, but it could be just start with somebody or write it out, say it, verbalize it, let it out. Start somewhere. You know what I mean? Don't keep carrying this around with you. And so, don't be ashamed or feel bad or guilty or whatever for where you are or who you are. Because I did that for a long time. Like I said earlier, I disappeared for 5 years because I was ashamed of where I was. And that's something I've still grown out of up until recently. But I'm at a point in my life now where I don't really care anymore. And I also have to trust that if God brings someone new, like for instance, I never dated. If God brought someone in my life right now, or whoever He brings in my life, whatever He's allowing to go on, I'm just using that example. Whatever He allows in my life in general, I trust He brought it in my life at this time for a reason. And you don't be quick to assume anything. I was reassured that recently from someone. They're like, "Hey, don't assume anything. Don't be too quick to assume things." If you it's like for instance, if you go out in public and you say hello to somebody or whatever, talking to somebody, or you do something, or if you feel like people are looking at you a certain way, or what, don't be too quick to assume things because you never know. You don't know what that person's thinking, what that person's going through. All you can do is control you. And at the end of the day, did you do what you wanted to do? Did you do what makes you feel happy? It makes you feel like your true self. Did you not? You're not the one that's no longer feeling like woulda, shoulda, coulda. I wish I would have did this more. I wish I would have did that. You're not living in the past anymore. You're in the present now, and you're looking ahead to the hope you have in the future, right? And so, uh, yeah, I mean, don't ever be ashamed and don't ever assume anything. Because I used to do both of those. I was afraid to reconnect with people, even some of my longtime friends, people I love dearly, because I was ashamed of where I was. I felt embarrassed, but it wasn't my fault where I was. It was Now it's up to me to make a choice to not stay there anymore and push forward and start doing better for myself and growing out of it. Because, like I said earlier, the pain was enough. But man, I started reconnecting with a lot of my friends and people, and just people I never even met. And you'd be surprised how many people are going through the same thing you're going through, but worse. That's why I say don't assume. And you got to trust whoever God brings in your life or what He allows in your life. He gave it to you at that time for a reason, and it's only gonna help you grow. And all you can do is just be honest, be true to yourself, and believe and trust in what you're doing, and it'll always work out. Like I said, or like the verse said earlier, I'll put it on the screen again. I have told you before it happens, so that when it does happen, not if, you will believe. That says it all right there. Says it all. And like I said, you never know what people around you are going through. And it's up to you to make that choice. It's. I actually thought about something earlier. I'm gonna share this. This is what I'll finish off with. Excuse me. Back in July, right? I was out walking one day. It was a Monday in July. I'm out walking. It was hot out, and it was about 5, 6 o'clock. But anyways, I'm out walking. I'm going on my walk at night, and because I remember I was a little under the weather, so I didn't want to bike. So I said, well, I want to get some fresh air, get moving. So I went out and walked instead. And so when I'm out walking, I go about a couple minutes down the road, and there's like this little. I live kind of by the river, Cuyahoga River, and so uh, there's like this bridge you can walk over right by where I live. And as I'm walking over the river on this bridge, there's like a little corner spot at this park, and this little corner spot. A lot of times, there's a lot of people like that are homeless, or occasionally you'll see somebody will sit there occasionally, and you can tell they're kind of homeless or they just hang out there or whatever. And so, walking over this bridge, I see this gentleman ahead. I'm okay. So I'm walking through, just trying to get by, minding my business. And as I get closer ahead, I look up. I say, "Hey, this guy looks familiar." And when I look up, I look at this guy. And I said, "Oh," in my head, when I walked by him, actually, he kind of looked at me. He just said hello. And I said, "Hey, how you doing? How's your day going?" Just try to, you know, ask him how he's doing. Maybe make, just to, I could tell the guy had, you could just when I was walking by the guy, I saw there was liquor, there was beer, there was just a lot of things that just looked like you knew this guy was he's in a bad place in his life, right? And you could tell he was homeless. And but the reason why I say when I looked at that guy, I said that this guy looks familiar. I looked, and the house I used to live in, there was our next door neighbors was a family, and they had uh, older kids. They were much in their 20s and stuff. By the time I lived at the house for 7 years, yeah. So for that 7 year period, the kids were always a little older. They were just like when I first moved in there, they were graduating high school, and then obviously they got out of high school. And I remember one of the kids, one of them, he was always he was always out walking over there. But there was always there was some instances I remember there was like drama in that home with this guy. I could tell the guy had problems. I don't want to get too into it, but to put the guy out. But the guy had issues back then, right? And so I moved out of that house 5 years ago. This is 5 years later. I'm walking over this bridge, and look who I see. 5 years later, that guy. And I remember before I moved out of that house, like I said, there was some instances, and I talking to them. The guy had some issues, and 5 years later, nothing. It doesn't seem like anything changed, and it looked like he was down in a worse hole. And when I looked at that guy's face that day, I saw somebody with no belief. I saw somebody with no trust, no where to go. And the guy was at a point in his life when I asked him, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He was smoking a cigarette and he kind of just looked at me. And he was just like, he stopped and he just went, "Good." Like, I'm just getting by. I remember when I walked away, I thought about, and I walked away and I was just like, damn, like that's, there's somebody out there that has it worse than you. And I don't mean to share the story to go off on a bad note. You know, I try to share things to get you guys to leave on a high note to inspire you. To hopefully this message I shared today inspires you. But the my whole point in sharing that story, and I thought about it before I came on and did this today, it popped in my head all of a sudden. And the reason why I share is because the more you put things aside, the more you stuff things inside, the more you just allow time. And I think that's kind of a cliche thing when people say time heals and it's just allowing. Like, yeah, you allow, but who are you allowing? I look at it as I'm allowing God to control, but you also have to put in action. You can't just shove things aside your whole life and just try to get by. It's never going to go away. And the reason why I shared that story is because sometimes those things get bigger and bigger, and you get down in a deeper and deeper hole. Before you know it, everything you had could be gone, just like that. And so, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to take that leap of faith. Don't be afraid to engage with new people or new things or whatever, or reconnect with old people. Whatever it is, whatever you want to do in your life that you know you truly want to do deep down inside, just do it, man. It's like Michael said, F it. Go for it. What do you have to lose? Nothing. Life's not about wins and losses, it's about wins and lessons. And you always keep pushing forward regardless. And that's why you have to have that belief within yourself. You know who you are. I know who I am. God accepts me for who I am, and I accept me for who I am. And that's all that matters. If I would have carried around them shitty ass labels people gave me 5 years or 7 years ago because I was going through a panic disorder, a lot of people thought I was quitting and tapping out, and they said I was a quitter. If I would have carried them labels around, I wouldn't be here right now because I knew that's not who I was. And I'm not mad at those people. A lot of people just didn't know what was going on at the time. Nobody knew. I didn't really know at the time. But don't be so quick to assume, and don't ever be ashamed for who you are. And have that belief in yourself. It's up to you, like Dennis said. You have to go through that temporary pain to get out of it, but how do you respond to it? What are you going to do about it? And so that's a message for you guys today. I hope it resonated with you guys. Like I said, I didn't mean to get to like that story there at the end. Obviously, it was tough for me to see that day because I saw that guy a lot. He's my old neighbor. But I share that, like I said, for a reason. You know, do something for yourself starting today. Don't wait. That's really what I'm getting at. And have that belief in yourself. Have that confidence, that certainty, right? And it will happen. It's just like the verse says. I'm gonna show it one more time before I got here. I have told you now before it happens, so that when it happens, you will believe. As a burp. But like I said, like the verse says, when it happens, you will believe. It's gonna happen. You just gotta stay patient, keep trusting. You're in that cold lake of water. Don't jump out. Stay in there. And I'm gonna stay in there. I'm still going through right now. And we can all stay in there together. We can all get through it together. Don't be afraid to speak up and lean on people. Sometimes people you least expect. Sometimes the things you thought weren't possible, or the things you thought, or the people, or things that you didn't think would really help. I've learned in my life that actually the things you needed the most, and they actually helped you the most. Just step out. That's all you got to do. Just keep going, keep pushing forward, and yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. That's a message for today. I think I've said enough. I think I've made it pretty clear. Um, like, subscribe, share. If you like this show, if you like this message, definitely share today's show. You never know, it could help somebody. Um, and just yeah, let's just keep pushing forward each and every day, guys. And yeah, go Bucks this weekend, go Browns, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. Godspeed. Gone.